basketball. So with that in mind, I'm not going to let the alarm go again because I don't want T.O. to make fun of me for it. Next question. Who is your ride or die team? Who is the team that you just love a little bit too much? Who is the team, T.O., that you, even though your mind kind of says, you know what, I don't know if this is right, who can you just not quit? Who is your 3 a.m.? It's back in college. It's 3 a.m. You've had a couple too many beverages. You just finished that nice slice of pizza, and you're making that text. You're picking up that call. Who's your ride or die?
Baylor. Baylor is my ride or die because of their consistency that they've had over the past X amount of years or however long Scott Drew has really gotten that thing rolling. Flagler, LJ Cryer, returners. They bring in nice pieces, and then Keontae George is just such an X factor with his talent. He could be one of these special freshmen, but it all kind of comes down to who's their star. Like, could he be that guy? They brought in with the kid from West Virginia. Is it Bridges? And they brought in Caleb Lohner, who's a nice player. If they had Tchamwa Tchatchoua healthy, he's not going to be. But like if they had him healthy, I think this is a real contender. I just still, even so, I can't put down my love for the Baylor Bears because I think Keontae George could be your game-changing kind of player, especially at the end of games because of his skill level and his competitiveness and emphasis on competitiveness.
Mm-hmm. Fanta?
My ride or die this season comes from the Mountain West. It is San Diego State. I will die on that hill. I'm probably going to pick them to go around too far in the NCAA tournament because I love chaos, and I think they're good enough, more than good enough, to create it. Look, you're talking about one of the best defensive teams in America. They were KenPom number 2 in adjusted defensive efficiency last year. KenPom has them in the top 10 in the preseason. I actually think it might be top 5 from what I last checked. The Aztecs, the way that they defend, you combine that with Matt Bradley and his scoring prowess. The biggest question for this team is, can they get enough complementary scoring night in, night out? Because they became predictable offensively last year, and it ended up doing them in. They did not beat Creighton in the NCAA tournament. They should have won that game, but should have, would have, could have doesn't count in March Madness. My point is, I think the national narrative around San Diego State might be different had they won that first round game and advanced to play Kansas, because I wonder how that game would have gone. They didn't win that game, but they have Nathan Mensah back. Jadon Lee is someone that at the 4, former Ohio State guy, was out last year. He transfers into the program. He's a guy that's going to help them. Darian Trammell from Seattle, really good scorer, and Lamont Butler's back as well. San Diego State is a dangerous dog. Brian Dutcher has not been able to make the March run happen. We only could have wondered what would have happened a couple of years ago when they had a terrific season. But I'm on the Aztecs bandwagon. They're my ride or die this season. And they're an easy ride or die because I think they're going to win the Mountain West.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you spend any time on Twitter and you even happen to mention anybody kind of closely affiliated with the Mountain West, you will get a flood of San Diego State fans telling you that Jaden Leday should be a first-team All-American this season. Just a flood, a torrent of them. So they're all in on him as a player. My ride or die is the Florida Gators, and I don't know if I'm just fully bought in. I don't know if I've been blinded by seeing Kawasi Reeves go off in the last 3 games of the regular season. I don't know if I've just managed to convince myself that Will Richard was the most under-recruited player in the class of 2021 when he ended up at Belmont. I don't know if I'm just sitting here looking at Alex Fudge being like, how can a guy named Fudge not have a sweet jump shot at the end of the day? But you give me those 3 guys that I just mentioned with a veteran lead guard in Kyle Lofton, with a veteran 5 in Colin Castleton, 2 fifth-year seniors that have been around the block, been in a lot of battles. You give me Marion Jones off the bench, a guy that I do expect to shoot closer to what he shot at Penn State as a freshman and a sophomore than what he did last year at Florida. You give me what's the kid who transferred in, the point guard, Trey Bonham. You give me BMI. They got a couple of pretty good freshmen coming in. I know that the staff is very high on Riley Kugel and Denzel Aberdeen. I look at that team, really good point guard, really good 5-man. What I expect to be 3 really good wings. Now I know I'm taking a leap saying that those 3 guys, Reeves, Richard, and and Fudge are all going to end up being like good in those 2, 3, 4 spots, but you're switchable, you're long, you're athletic, you got shot makers, you got a point guard, you got a 5-man. To me, that's kind of what you need to be able to compete. So I've managed to convince myself that Florida is going to end up being a top 20 team in college basketball this season, and right up there. I think there's a top 5. We'll get to this later, Tio, but I think there's a top 5 in the SEC as opposed to a top 4.